Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the Program Evaluation Series. The topic today is Parent Involvement Policy and Programs. I am Lauren McKinney. Becky Book, my colleague. Her contact information is there on the screen as well. And today is May 18th, 2017. As I mentioned earlier, if you have not had the opportunity to register, I will also have this link up at the very end of our time today so that you can go in and do so through our calendar of events. And then at the very end, you can also mark your attendance if you have not already had the opportunity. So let's get started. Here is our agenda for today. What we will be discussing, the program evaluation series, we'll do an initial overview, then we'll go into statutory requirements, actual parent involvement requirements, the program evaluation process, the CNA and CIP link to the program evaluations, allowable and unallowable costs, other program evaluation series session, and then we'll conclude with some resources. So the program evaluation series, what is it? How many are there? And why are we, in fact, offering these? Here is the session description for this. This was what was actually posted on the flyer, and it's just basically reminding us that if you are receiving federal funding, we have to adopt and use proper methods of administering each program. This includes the enforcement of any obligations imposed by law on agencies, institutions, organizations, and other recipients responsible for carrying out each program, and the correction of deficiencies in program operations that are identified through audits, monitoring, or evaluation. If you are open to receiving CPE credit, that is an option as well. So how many do we have? This is the second in our series. There are a total of 9. The first one was yesterday, covering Title I, Part A, and today, as you already know, is Parent Involvement Policy and Programs. Tomorrow, we will be covering Title I, Part C, specifically migrant education, and these occur about 3 a week up until June 1st, when we will conclude with Title VI, Part B, which is the Rural Education Initiative. As a side note, these titles are based on NCLB, on No Child Left Behind. You'll see their Title IV Part A says Safe and Drug-Free Schools, which under ESSA, that is not Title IV. So just be aware that these numbers are based on, the title numbers are based on No Child Left Behind, because that is what we are concluding during the remainder of the 16-17 school year. Why are we offering this? We wanted to make sure that we could provide, in essence, on-demand assistance, because with your schedules, it makes it a little bit more difficult per se if we are not available at the time that is convenient to you. So by us recording these, we wanted to allow you an opportunity to have access to this information whenever you need it at any time. So statutory requirements. Do I have to engage in this process, meaning the program evaluations? We know we do, but before we go into this, I also want to remind you that since this is the last year that we are adhering to No Child Left Behind before transferring into the Every Student Succeeds Act, all of the evaluation guidelines that are provided and the statutory requirements that are provided during this time together is based on NCLB. So the evaluation process, it's just basically looking at what it is that we set out to do, what we accomplished, and to what degree we actually accomplished what we said we were going to accomplish at the beginning or the onset when we started planning these programs and allocating funds for its usage. Evaluation with our programs must be planned from the very start, which is why you'll see in here throughout that reference to baseline data. And we need the baseline data because it allows us to be able to see whether or not what we plan to do, we actually did. Was there growth? If there was not, that's fine, but I need to know that. And that's what the data, the baseline data, and the data that we gather throughout the entire duration of the program allows us to see. Data is not always just that concrete data, of course. For sure, we're at a minimum going to include our fund sources. We want to go back and look at our CNA and then our CIP as well. but especially pertaining to parent involvement in the policy and just your overall program, we do not want to discount that qualitative data, which includes our surveys, our forums, our one-on-ones. If you don't have as much data as you would like, if you're looking at this and we're in the midst of looking at our evaluation of the programs that we implemented this year, this is just kind of an opportunity to say, okay, I know I would like more data. These are the pieces I would like more data in. So next year, let me plan on this. Last thing I want to remind you, statutory requirements. These are indicated in the provisions and assurances of the NCLB consolidated application as well. So specifically for today, in general, the NCLB statutory requirements are as follows. The applicant will adopt and use proper methods of administering each such program, including the enforcement of any obligations imposed by law on agencies, institutions, organizations, and other recipients responsible for carrying out each program, and the correction of deficiencies in program operations that are identified through audits, monitoring, or evaluation. That is what I just read to you that came from the description of the series, because it is the statute, it is the law. Now, as pertains to parent involvement, we are required to conduct, with the involvement of parents, an annual evaluation of the content and effectiveness of the parent involvement policy in improving the academic quality of the schools served under Title I, Part A. We are also required to identify barriers to greater participation by parents in activities. And we also want to make sure that we use these findings of the evaluation to design strategies for more effective parental involvement, and to revise, if necessary, the policies that you have in place. Because, of course, with parent involvement, the policy is a living, breathing document. It's flexible. So as we identify things through our comprehensive needs assessment, we tackle them. If they are addressed, it's not a, yay, I'm done, I no longer have to worry about parent involvement. Of course, it's let me go back and see what are our current needs as of now, since we have addressed these. Under NCLB, one of the things that they point out as well is we want to pay particular attention to our families who are economically disadvantaged, are disabled, or have limited English proficiency, and have limited literacy or any other racial or ethnic minority background. We're wanting to make sure, of course, that this funding that has been provided is meeting those populations' needs as well. So next, I would like to cover some parent involvement requirements. What must we do if we're receiving this funding at all? And the first section is expenditures. So what are the actual fiscal requirements? We got a question not too long ago asking, okay, yes, I know I have to set aside money, but do I have to use that money set aside for parent involvement on parent involvement? Can I use that money for something else? And the answer to that, of course, would be no. I can't use that funding for other programs. That set aside, whatever it is, based on how much finances or how much money my LEA has to be used for the purpose of building parental capacity, which at the end of the day, as we know, goes back to improving student achievement. As with all of our federal regulations in education, at the end of the day, the end goal, the end game is making sure that student achievement increases. So with our expenditures, at least 1% of Title I Part A funds must be designated for parental involvement activities if the LEA receives $500,000 or more. Of this 1%, 95% must be allocated to participating campuses for such activities. Parents of children receiving Title I Part A services should be involved in the decision about how these funds are allotted for parent involvement. And therefore, parent involvement programs, activities, and procedures provided with Title I Part A funds are planned and implemented with meaningful consultation with parents of participating children. So in short, parents should be involved in how we spend this parent involvement money. So the next portion covers the law, of which there is a lot of information. So over these next slides, I am not going to read them all to you. I'm going to pull out the most important pieces because this does reference the policy. And we also will be talking about the compact shortly as well. If you would like to see the full law of this, please let me know. And I do have access to it on our screens. And I also have access to this on our website. So here is the first piece. PL Public Law 107-110, Section 1118. This is referencing the policy. So in general, basically, we have to make sure that we have a policy and programs in place and activities and procedures for making sure that families are more involved. It's supposed to be planned, and it's supposed to occur with what they call meaningful consultation with the parents. So this is not me sitting down in the office and saying, yes, this is what our parents want. It is with the guidance of families and community members and other stakeholders, and genuinely getting their feedback and genuinely listening to them and what they say they need. The written policy, which of course is a requirement, is supposed to be developed jointly with, agreed on, and distributed to parents of participating children. We are also required to make sure that in this process of school review and improvement, specifically for our campuses that are on that school improvement continuum, that we are improving student academic achievement, improving school performance, and building the capacity of our families so that they can have an active role in how we are educating our kids. This portion goes into basically coordination and integration of strategies across all programs. And it also includes, as you see here, our Head Start program, our Reading First program, early reading, other parents as teachers programs, home instruction program for preschools, and other state-run programs. What's in blue here is what was added, or really a greater emphasis put on for this particular program during this last 16-17 school year. So it does repeat again, the annual evaluation is required to ensure that or verify the actual content and effectiveness of the parent involvement policy. We are also supposed to identify barriers to greater participation by parents. And we're also supposed to make sure that we're using the findings to design strategies to be more effective with really and truly involving and engaging our families. A little bit more information about the policy. Again, this is the portion that really delves into making sure that parents are notified. And it says here, to the extent practicable, in a language that the parents can understand. And I always get questions about that one. You know, for example, let's say we have 52 languages spoken in our district. Do I actually have to translate into all 52? That's one of the questions that typically comes up in regards to this, because the law says here that we are to provide, to the extent practical, our policy and really any of our two-way communication, meaningful two-way communication in a language that is understandable by our parents. This part or section of the law just goes into a little bit more with the special rules, any amendments, because we are allowed to do amendments as needed and as necessary, because again, the parent involvement policy and the compact are all living and breathing documents. And we also have the option and the requirement that parents have the opportunity to provide feedback. This portion of it delves even more into, at the end of the day, if I'm receiving this title funding, I must convene an annual meeting. It has to be at a convenient time. And you'll see in other portions of this, it also says flexible meeting times. So if I know that we have a population that, let's say, works overnight, I use myself as an example. My mother used to work swing shifts. She's in the medical field. So her 12-hour shifts sometimes would be 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you have families who have variable schedules, it's not really a sign that I am wanting their feedback and their involvement and their engagement if I only offer it at, say, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I may be totally dismissing and not involving the needs of families who aren't available at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We also want to make sure that this We have the right of the parents to be involved, are alerting them of this. Please give me one moment, guys. I hear myself, which means that someone has their speaker on. So give me a second to mute. There we are. Sorry about that. Okay, next piece. As we already mentioned, we are offering a flexible number of meetings, such as morning and evening. And this may, which is in bright red, means that it is not a requirement. It is something that is allowable, but is not a requirement. Under this law, we may provide funds that will be for the usage of transportation, childcare, or home visits as it relates to parental involvement. In addition, we will involve parents in an organized, ongoing, and timely way in the planning, review, and implementation of the programs, as well as the improvement of it. Last couple of slides, some of this repeats itself. Timely information about the programs are required, making sure that families are involved and are made aware of the curriculum that we're utilizing, the academic assessments that we're using to measure student progress and proficiency levels. And then that piece there that's bolded in red, if requested by parents, they have the right to demand basically that opportunities for regular meetings for suggestions as to how they can improve their children's education be done. And if it's a school-wide program, we want to make sure that, again, we're submitting any comments on the plan as provided by our families. So last slide, I promise, and then we'll be done with the law. Each school has to develop jointly with parents, which we've noted before. A school parent compact must be created also that outlines how parents and the entire staff and students will share the responsibility for improved academic performance. And lastly, I have here within the law, you'll see a reference quite a bit to building capacity. With that, there are 6 must. So in the law, it says we shall, but basically that means we will. So there are 6 must, and then there are actually 8 mays, which are things that, if we can, would be phenomenal at making sure that we increase and improve our parental involvement and engagement practices, but it is not necessarily required. The mays are not required, just pretty much how they suggested. Okay. Any questions so far before we go into this next piece? All right. Let's keep trucking. The next piece that we have here, the parent involvement policy. How do I actually develop one? Since this is more of an evaluation or program evaluation series, I'm not going to delve into this super deep, other than to say the policy, again, as we just saw in the law, is required. And the policy establishes our expectations for parental involvement and describes how the campus will implement a number of specific parental involvement activities. So I like to refer to the policy in educator terms as our lesson plan. This is what it is we are going to cover. This is how we're going to cover it. This is big ideas, what we're going to make sure with our parent involvement, parent engagement activities we accomplish during this year. And if it needs to be changed, we can do so because, again, it's like our lesson plan. We adjust as we need to. So here are a couple of quick information pieces, basic elements for the parent involvement policy. Parents and families, of course, we need them involved. These are key stakeholders, key people that need to be a part of this process. School administrators, teachers and paraprofessionals, other support staff, and then, of course, local community members. What's important about this is that we remind everyone involved that it is a collaborative process. This is not something that is supposed to be done in isolation. It is a working, communicative, collaborative piece that occurs between all members. With the district parental involvement policy, what you see here that's in blue is what is common between the district parent involvement policy and the campus parent involvement policy. So at a minimum, the district policy must address the statement of purpose, and it says it is recommended but not required. Most campuses do, most districts do, because it is a one-liner, basically. That is something that's also required at the campus level, which is why I have it here in blue. Developing the policy with parents. Again, that is something that is required at both the district policy level and the campus policy level. Specific to your district, involve parents in developing the Title I plan, provide coordination and assistance to schools. And then lastly here, building capacity of schools and parents is something that we are supposed to be doing at both the district and the campus level and should be identified in both. This is specific to the campus parent involvement policy. Again, you'll see statement of purpose there, but then you'll see developing the policy with the parents there. Now, specific to the campus, and this is part of the evaluation piece, they have to conduct an annual meeting. Meeting times and the venue should be flexible. We should involve parents in developing the school-wide plan, which is, of course, also our campus improvement plan. We should also have timely information, including curriculum and assessment. At the campus level, it should also address, and we should have a school parent compact. I want to point out really quickly, because some states view the policy and the compact as one thing. In Texas, we view them as two separate documents. The policy, which I said before, kind of reminds me of like my lesson plan when I was in the classroom. And the compact is more so my promise between the campus and the family. This is what you can expect from me. This is what I can expect from you. To me, the compact is just my overarching, in the educator terms, my scope and sequence per se. This is what's going to happen. But the policy is how I'm really going to do this, how I'm going to make sure that this occurs. And the last two things we have here at the bottom, building capacity of school and parents, requirement at both the campus and district levels, and then an evaluation piece, because we have to find out if what we are doing through this program, what we're paying for with funding in this program, are worth us actually engaging in. So I mentioned before that there are 8 shalls, which is our must. So according to the law with building capacity, we will provide assistance to parents in how to monitor their progress, their child's progress, and how to understand state standards and assessments. We will also provide materials and training to help parents work with their children to improve student achievement. Because as we already noted, with federal funding and really most funding, we have to take it back at all times to student achievement. Is this making an impact on our kids? We also have to make sure, and we will be providing training to parents and to teachers and school personnel with the assistance of the parents to value the contribution of parents, to work with parents as partners instead of adversaries, and build ties between parents and the school. We will also provide information to parents in a uniform and understandable format, and to the extent practicable in a language that parents can understand. And we also will, to the extent feasible, coordinate and integrate parental involvement strategies under other programs. That's if you are thinking about the 10 school-wide components, that is component number 10, if I'm remembering correctly. And that's just the coordination of the programs across all of the funding that you're bringing in. So in essence, it is making sure that we are getting the biggest bang for our buck and that we are not using all of our funding in one shot, if we can actually develop it and utilize it amongst several. So going back into evaluation, the goal of the parent involvement program is to implement effective parental involvement activities to improve student academic achievement and performance. And the role that we play is to provide assistance and resources to facilitate the parental involvement program. Delving a little bit more into the evaluation piece, annual evaluation of the content and effectiveness of the parental involvement program must occur. We must perform a needs assessment using a variety of tools, and we have to identify possible barriers that limit parent and family participation, and then revise our policies as necessary. A little bit more information about the annual meeting. I believe I have 2 slides on this. The schools and districts must convene this actual annual meeting. And the purpose of it is to inform parents of the Title I school-wide or targeted assistance programs and the parents' right to be involved. We will also, during this annual meeting, describe how regular and flexible meetings will be held to ensure full participation. We also, during this annual meeting, will describe how parents will be provided information about school performance, expected proficiency levels, academic assessments, and school curriculum, and then explain how parents can participate in decisions relating to the education of their children. As you can see, a lot of this information repeats itself because it's the law, and we're just making sure that we're covering it in different aspects of it. So at the end of this, when we cover resources, I will show you where you can download annual Title I PowerPoint that's already completed. The only thing you have to do is add your own LEA or campus district information to it, and it covers all of the pieces that we must do in order to fulfill the requirements of this funding source. Next slide I have for you here is a checklist. There are 21 items on the parental involvement policy checklist. This one is for the district. On that same website that I'll show you at the very end, it's a Google site that I created about a year and a half ago. It has access to this, but basically these are the items that we have to make sure we have yes going down the entire left-hand side of the column for this checklist in order to ensure that we are staying on the right side of the law. One of the things that you'll see here, and we'll look at it a little deeper later, but you'll see was the district involvement policy jointly developed, because again, it comes directly from the law. Was a district parental involvement policy distributed to parents or families? Again, a requirement from the law. The campus level is a little different. There are 15 items here, and this goes back to what we've already covered, slightly different, but it is here as well. So we want to make sure that we can say yes to these sections, because if not, then that's a problem. Any question about the policy before we go into the school parent compact? Because again, in the state of Texas, it's viewed as two separate things. All right, let's keep going. Our school parent compact. Not too long ago, at the beginning of this school year, we as in state of Texas, redeveloped the school parent compact, and we tried to make it a little easier. So now it's called the 5 steps to success for developing school parent compacts. The parent policy, as well as the school parent compact PowerPoints for this upcoming school year, I already have. The Google site that I'll show you at the very end of this I'll have it posted there for you to see, so that you can actually see the PowerPoint, download it, look at all supplemental resources and materials that come with it. So if you decide you want to use this in your district or on your campuses, you can. The work is already done. So what exactly is a school parent compact? It's a written agreement between the school and the parents. And the intent of this is to make sure that we are identifying activities that the parents and the entire school staff and the students will undertake, so that we can share the responsibility of the academic achievement of our kiddos. In addition, the school parent compact outlines the activities that parents, school staff, and students will undertake to develop and build a partnership, so that we can help children achieve the state's high academic standards and maintain meaningful two-way communication and work as partners for improved academic achievement. Yes, meaningful two-way communication was in the law, which is why it's repeated here as well. Really quickly about that, because I get questions a lot about what exactly is meaningful two-way communication. We want to make sure that, because sometimes we get confused with the question I get regularly, is a newsletter considered meaningful two-way communication? And the answer to that is not necessarily. If I am just sending information, this is what we've covered this week, or this is what we're covering next week. We have the fall festival on this day, but I'm not providing opportunities for parents to provide feedback, to engage in the process of conducting the actual fall festival, that these dates work for you. If I'm not providing a platform for it to be meaningful and two-way, then I'm not abiding by the law. So no, by itself, a newsletter is not considered an example of meaningful two-way communication. Another example I give quite often with this, when my mom would come home in the evening, because she was a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, if she were to tell me, take out the trash, that's not meaningful two-way communication. That is, you will get up and take out the trash. Meaningful two-way would be, oh, well, can I wait and do this later? Well, once my show is off, can I get up at that point and take out the trash? That one-way communication where I'm telling you, I'm giving you a directive, this is what we did, this is what you will do, that's not considered meaningful or two-way. So the school parent compact, you'll see the language is very similar to the policy because the statute is a statute. It is to be developed jointly by school administrators and teachers and parents. They are required at the campus level only. This is another piece that is a requirement in law. Teacher parent conferences are required at the elementary school where the compact is discussed as it relates to the individual child's achievement. It is an option at the secondary level, should you choose for middle school or high school or intermediate, middle, and high, depending on the breakdown of your district. It's an option to discuss the compact at those levels, but we will and we must discuss the compact at the elementary level. Last little slide of information about the school parent compact. If you want a full training about the policy, the compact, we always offer them on site here at the Region 10 ESC, typically first couple of weeks in September. So if you are interested in coming to participate fully in the training, I would advise you do that because this is just more of a, by the way, these were pieces of the law that you were doing. So let me show you how this all ties into the program evaluation process. So last slide on school parent compact. It is the responsibility of the campus to provide high quality curriculum and instruction and the ways in which parents will be responsible for supporting their children's learning. And again, this last bullet goes into how important it is to have ongoing communication and making sure that it is meaningful. So before we go into the program evaluation process, now that we've had an opportunity to look at, as pertains to parent involvement, the program itself, these are pieces that are required under the law. We looked at the law, and before we go into the evaluation process, are there any questions about the policy or the compact or anything we've talked about so far? Okay, I saw a question in regards to the policy and compact at the secondary level. It is an option how you choose to distribute it, as long as it is distributed. But let me say this as a side note. If I am a parent on your middle school campus and I come to your office and I say, hey, where's that policy? Where's that compact? I want my own copy. You will print that out and provide the copy for them because, of course, parents' desires and wishes, for the most part, trump just about anything else that we have going on. But if you want to, say, post it in an easily locatable location, let's say the website or your school website, or if you have like each educator on the campus has their own, um, let's see, web page, and you may want to encourage them to post it there as well. But for sure, the idea of having it on your school and districts websites, definitely I would suggest doing so. Also, having a hard copy, say in the office, so that if a family member or community member wants to come in and have a look at it right then and there, let's say they don't have access to the internet, because we also have to take into account availability of technology and the needs of those we're serving. So you want to make sure that you do have some there at the secondary level. You want to make sure you have some there on site as well. But is it okay to post it on your website and then maybe in your handout or your beginning of school memo, you're sending stuff home? Hey, if you'd like to see a hard copy of the policy and compact that we developed together when at the last time we had our parent meeting, you can do that. That is also an option. It's just at the elementary level that it is required that we go over the compact and have families basically sign off that they've seen it. Good question. I have one more question that has popped up. Oh, nope, it's just saying thanks. All right, guys, let's keep going. So the next piece here, we have the program evaluation process. So this is 5 steps, and I'm going to show this to you now, and then I will break it down a little bit as well, because initially I have a graphic because I am a visual person. So we will go over the process, have a look at the evaluation tool, which can be found on our website, region10.org/Title I, as well as the TEA's website. Then we'll look at a couple of examples, or what I like to call allowable or unallowable, and then we will look at an evaluation option as well. So first piece, this program evaluation process. If you have already downloaded the program evaluation booklet that is found again on our website, this is page 6 of the booklet. It's just done in a slightly different way. I like to break things up and chunk them and look at it piece by piece. But the program evaluation process are these 5 steps: listing the needs, identifying your strategies, identifying funds, reviewing data, and then evaluating the actual impact. So listing the needs. We want to make sure that we are listing the needs that are identified within the comprehensive needs assessment. This is part of the reason why that CNA is so vital. The CNA is literally the base of everything that we do. And this is required not just when spending federal funds. This is also to be found in the Texas Education Code, which I'll get into a little bit later. But with that CNA, anything that we do has to be rooted and grounded in the data that we pulled while actually conducting that comprehensive needs assessment. So what I did here, it's just screenshot the comprehensive needs assessment tool. This one was student achievement. I just screenshot the first one that popped up. But you'll see there possible data sources, and this includes student work for this particular area. We also have dual enrollment, and then also course/class grades. And then the second half says data sources reviewed. So that's, everywhere that we looked and accumulated the data. Second page is always findings or analysis, wherein you indicate your strengths and then your opportunities for improvement, or in this case, the needs. And then we do a summary of the needs. So what I identified initially when I did my CNA, these are the needs that I'm going back to pull. These are the needs that I am listing in this program evaluation piece. This is part of the program evaluation process. So what I identify in that CNA is vital, because it literally is what impacts everything I do from that point forward, as pertains to funding, as pertains to the plan that we're going to engage in, the action steps. All of it is rooted in and based in that comprehensive needs assessment. So when I'm listing the needs, I'm just pulling back out my documentation from the CNA. The second says identifying strategies. So I am using my district, if this is down to district level, or my campus improvement plan, and identifying strategies or initiatives that address these programs and were connected to the federal program. So what I have here is just screenshot sample campus improvement plan template that you can also find on our website. So when identifying the strategies, we know that it's all rooted in the CNA. We took the needs and our strengths that we were able to find when conducting that comprehensive needs assessment, and use that as the basis to develop our plan of action, which is now our campus, our district improvement plan. So we are merely pulling the strategies that we found in our campus improvement plan to have a look at. We said these were the strategies that we needed to do to address this need. These were the steps we were going to take. So we're having a look at it to make sure that the steps we took were worth taking and the money spent was worth spending. So you'll see there in the middle of the screen, strategies and action steps, who the parties are responsible, resources, and of course with resources, that also includes the funding. How much you're spending from which source. It could be federal funding, it could be state allotments, it could be local, just whatever that funding in, and that would be considered a resource. Your timeline, evidence of implementation, evidence of impact, formative and or summative evaluation of it, and then the Title I school-wide components that we have to use if we are a Title I school-wide campus. So whatever improvement plan you use, if you use other software, totally fine. What's important is that we go back to the plan to identify the strategies that we put into place, that we said we were putting into place to address the needs. Step 3, Now we want to look at the money. We have to identify the amount of funds expended to implement the strategy or initiative. So what I have here is a screenshot of just the small piece of the improvement plan, which identifies the strategies and the action steps and the resources, yet again, which is the money, how much money we actually spent in order to conduct or engage in this program, which in this case is the parent involvement. So this next slide has just a screenshot. I got this from the TA's website. It's not one of our districts. It's from a different region, but just a budget summary is what they use their funding for this year. And again, when we're talking program evaluation and we're referencing money of any kind, it is nice to have that CIP, of course, because that shows us specifically this is what we were using this funding to address the strategy. But also make sure that you have your budget report, your budget summaries right there with you, because it allows you an opportunity to see this is what we spent this money on. Moving on to step 4. In step 4, you're reviewing the data identified to measure the fidelity of the implementation and the impact of the strategy or initiative on student outcomes. So going back again to the CNA, because this is where we said we were pulling these data sources that were reviewed. Other data sources, because I don't want you to think that I'm saying you only use the data sources first reference in your CNA. You can use plenty of other data sources. At a minimum, you would want to include your CNA, your campus improvement plan, your district improvement plan, student achievement scores, and again, your budget reports. This is a screenshot of fake data from a session that I developed and led here at the Service Center. I think this one I created about 3 years ago. And you'll see some fake names. We have Donald Duck as a student and the Mad Hatter and Yosemite Sam. But this is just an example of other sources of data. You want to look at your trend data. You can look at sign-in sheets, results of surveys. And then in this case with parent involvement, we typically have quite a few surveys that are conducted, and I can use that data as well. I can also look at meeting minutes. And of course, as I already mentioned, your trend data, just longitudinally over time. Step 5, and this is the last step in this process for the program evaluation, is evaluating the impact and making recommendations for continuation, modification of the strategy or initiative. So one of the things I want to point out from here is this is just an example of a heat map. It's not specific to a location or a district within our region. It's just an example of a heat map. One of the reasons why I put this here is because when you're evaluating, when you're giving that recommendation for continuing this program or modifying it or ending it altogether, we want to be able to say that we actually have data to support, which i.e. step 4, support this decision or this recommendation to continue or discontinue this program. And it helps to have well-rounded and just diverse data sources to pull from. These are the 5 steps. It's fairly easy to conduct, but let me say, do not be confused by the fact, or do not underestimate how much time is involved with this, because even though it is 5 steps, these are 5 steps that can take time. And of course, they should take time, and you should not be doing these in isolation. This should be done with a team or a committee of people who are intimately involved with that program. So since this is parent involvement, I would want to make sure that those who are on the committee involved in this evaluation of the program, family members for sure, community members, if this is at the district level, maybe the parent liaisons at the individual campuses, having them come together and have a look at this so that we are genuinely having a full view and a diverse view of whether or not this program that we've invested funding into at the federal level, federal funding, local funding, state funding, whatever the funding may be, is worthy of continuing. Does this actually help to achieve what it is this program is supposed to achieve? So I want to go into the program evaluation tool with you now. So that was the steps, though, that was the process, the 5 steps. So now I want to show you the tool itself that you can use in order to be able to gauge whether or not this program is successful. So the first thing you see here, and I will show you how to access this evaluation tool, is a spreadsheet, and it is found on our website, of course, region10.org/Title I. But the program evaluation, this one just says Title I Part A. It looks the same for all of the programs. They just switch out the name. Entitlement is here. So that's the money. That's how much money was allocated for this program. The completion date, that's the date that we actually completed this evaluation. It's not the end of the fiscal year. This is the date that we completed the evaluation itself. Then it gives you a description of the program intent. Again, that there's one specific to family and community. What you see here, star number 1, that is the name. So anyone who is involved in this program evaluation committee, their name goes there. And please do not forget to list also their positions. What I mean by that is we know in this committee, we want to involve, and especially with the parent involvement policy, we want to involve stakeholders such as our family members. We want to involve community members. We want to involve administrators. We want to, everyone who is actually involved in this process, we want to make sure we put their position next to their name, because when evaluating this later, if this is audited or whatever the case may be, it helps to be able to show that we had full participation and we had divergent ideas from different experiences. The next slide here is just more of a breakdown of what the evaluation tool looks like as well. This is basically like page 2 of it. You have the date, because the date that this was actually conducted should be there. And it could be varying dates. Identify needs from the CNA. It could be that we looked at the needs on May 20th, and then we went back, looked at the needs for one of the identified pieces on May 20th. Maybe we went back on May 23rd and looked at a different identified need. That's the intent of this, which is why on page 1, it asks you the date that you actually completed the entire evaluation, not the dates you did individual pieces, which go on this part of the evaluation tool. So it's your date, identified needs from CNA, the strategies to address the needs in your campus improvement plan or district improvement plan, which, getting a little ahead of myself, is part of the reason why you have to show there is a link between your CNA, your improvement plan, be it campus or district, and then what I actually selected to spend this money on and why I spent my money on it and what impact it had. So the expenditure is the 4th column, followed by the impact. What impact did it have? And again, that's based on the data, which is step 4 of the 5-step process. And then here are the recommendations. Again, that's step 5. After we've conducted the program evaluation process, what are our recommendations as a committee? If this did not work, fine, we know this now, but going forward and moving forward into next year, this may be something I don't want to include. Data sources. Again, I've mentioned this to you before, but data sources at a minimum, you're using your CNA, you're using your CIP or your district improvement plan, you're using student achievement data. It can be benchmark data, other local assessments, it can be STAR if you have it. And then you also can include and want to include budgetary reports, because then that also is a form of data to show why this program is worth continuing or maybe want to consider discontinuing. But you do have to make sure you list those data sources there as well. You want to complete all pieces of the evaluation tool. This piece that's under here, when you actually, and I'll show you how to access it, when you actually pull the evaluation tool, it's just a spreadsheet. It's an Excel sheet. It'll show you the introduction, the Title I Part A section, parent involvement, all of the areas that you're doing a program evaluation for, your state comp ed. And then also, if you opted to do the local option, that is there for you as well. That's it. That is the bulk of the program evaluation as far as what it looks like, the steps, what it's looking for, and how I actually have to put all this data together in the form. So before I transition into examples of what is considered allowable or unallowable costs, so your sample program expenditures as pertains to parent involvement, do you have any questions for me? All right, hearing none. Let's keep going. So I have a couple of examples for you, and these are common program expenditure questions. So I wanted to make sure I included these. If you have a question that's not included in these next couple, because I think I only, for time's sake, included three, let me know. You can either ask now during the webinar, or you can email them to me and I will definitely respond back to you. So allowable or unallowable? Here is our first one. Can I use my Title I Part A funding to purchase refreshments for parent night? Take a moment and think about it. Then let me know, is this something that is allowable or unallowable? Thank you for those that replied to me. Let's have a look. Is food allowable? Allowable food costs for parents and or students. The following costs are allowable. So nutritional snacks for students in extended day or after school programs, nutritional snacks for children in childcare while parents are participating in grant activities. So if I'm doing a parent evening and I'm trying to build parental capacity and we have students that are there, maybe in a different room or even in the room with the parents, you can provide nutritional snacks for them. Food necessary to conduct nutrition education programs for parents, also allowable. And then parent involvement activities in which refreshments are necessary to encourage participation or attendance by parents, such as in low-income areas, and thus meet the program objectives. So please, as a reminder for campuses, if they ask you, can I use my money to buy a 3-course dinner? Of course, the answer is no, if that's the specific question. But these are allowable costs that you see here on the screen. Full meals, so that steak dinner for parents or students, are not allowable for these purposes under any circumstances. Expenditures must be reasonable in cost. They must be necessary to accomplish program objectives and an integral part of the instructional program. So unallowable costs also include refreshments of any kind, including beverages, breaks, and snack foods, except as necessary for the parent involvement activities and to actually encourage attendance by parents. So refreshments are meals at an awards, banquet, or functions. Not so much. Any food costs that are not necessary to accomplish the objectives of the grant program. And any food costs associated with an event in which there's like a guest speaker or individual conducts a presentation and they're not actively engaged in performing the activities, not allowable as well. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that we reminded you of that. What's on this screen is what's considered an allowable food cost. And I bring that up because that is a question that we kind of get often. So here's the next one I have for you. Allowable or unallowable? I serve on a Title I school-wide campus. Can I use my Title I Part A funding to pay for parent registration to attend the statewide parental involvement conference? Allowable or unallowable? All right. Thank you, guys. Here's the answer to that one. Registration fees to attend workshops or conferences are allowable. Social events or recreation events available at a cost above the basic registration fee may not be paid from grant funds, but the registration to attend workshops or conferences on the Title I school-wide campus, that is allowed. It's just the supplemental, oh, we're going to say Six Flags is not allowed to be paid from the grant funds. If you choose to pay for it from your local allocations, of course, that's at your discretion. But registration fees, because in essence, what we're doing, the rationale here is in order to support the program. And one of the key tenets of this program is building capacity of families so that they can then go back and support the student achievement of students. of their kiddos at home, then I can pay for the registration fees if it's to attend a workshop, to attend the statewide parent involvement conference, where they're having direct access to and will be learning things that directly impact the program. Unallowable travel expenses, however, include first class airfare. If you're going down to the conference, and the statewide parent involvement conference this year is in Houston, you don't have to fly first class in order to get there. You just have to get there, right? Per diem, meals and lodging for meeting, conference, or workshop participants who live in the same city where the event is held. So about 2 years back, the parent involvement conference was here in the Arlington area. So let's say that I have a family who is in Arlington that I'm wanting to pay to go to the conference. Yeah, I can't pay for their food or their lodging because they are actually there in the city where it's being held. However, you can provide, let's say, automobile mileage. If I want to take care of their mileage from their home, using the GSA rate, of course, from their home to the convention center and then back, and it's locally in my city, I can do that. I cannot include tips or gratuities inside my allowable travel expenses. I can't do that. Of course, alcoholic beverages are not included. Entertainment, recreation, or social events, I cannot include those. Those are all considered unallowable costs to go towards the grant. Now, if I choose to, as an LEA, pay for these things, that is at your individual discretion, but I cannot and will not charge alcohol or anything that's considered entertainment, recreation, or social events to the federal grant funding. I will get in big trouble if I do so, and they will make me pay that money back. So that is not considered an allowable charge. Last example I have here, allowable or unallowable, and you'll notice this one says targeted assistance campus. I serve on a Title I targeted assistant campus. Can I use my Title I Part A funding to pay for parent travel and conference costs to the statewide parent involvement conference? I'm trying to trick you on this one. Note that this says targeted assistance versus a Title I school-wide. All right, some of you got it. Some of you didn't fall for my tricks. Travel and conference costs are allowable if specifically related to the Title I Part A program and not to the general needs of the LEA or the campus. And again, it always goes back to, is this reasonable and necessary? And allocable as well. But with regardless if this is a Title I target assistance or Title I school-wide, for the same rationale I provided before, you can pay for travel and conference costs if it's related to that program, to the intent of the program, which in this case is parent involvement. Any other questions or any other scenarios that pop up for you? Okay, if some do arise, feel free to email me directly. I'll make sure I answer your question. So in general, I wanted to give you an example of this. This is program evaluation, computer software. Some of the some of our LEAs and our district's campuses are deciding to purchase computer software that can help with the acquisition of language. So for our English learners, is this something that is allowable? Is this something that once I've done it, because at this point we're saying, yes, this was already purchased, how do I evaluate its effectiveness? How do I say purchasing this language, this reading language, our English language program, and housing it on our campus for our families was worth doing? It was something that overall benefited the program. These are the 5 steps that we went through earlier in detail, but it's the same progress. I want to go back and look at my needs that were in that CNA. if I'm saying I'm using this funding on this, I had better be able to support that rationale by finding the needs identified in that CNA. I then need to look at the strategies that were developed in the improvement plan, or be it the district or campus level, to say, yes, we said that due to language acquisition, we wanted to ensure and offer strategies to improve this for our families. So the strategies that was listed in it was purchasing the computer software. The third piece, identifying the funds. Again, that's pulling from our campus improvement plan or your district improvement plan, your budget summaries, your budget reports. This is how much I spent on this program. I'm reviewing the data, and the data could include sign-in sheets. It can include hours of activity on the program. It can include a variety of data sources, and it should. And then lastly, I need to evaluate the impact. Was this beneficial to the program? Was it beneficial to the families that we serve to purchase that computer software, and then in turn provide it and make it available for our families on the campus? Was this impact worthy of the investment? I want to show you a couple of other examples too, just really quickly. Here are a couple of just surveys. I'll show you these in full detail in a moment because I do have these on the Google site. It's just a parent involvement survey. This is the front side and this is the back side. One of the things we have over here, this is also another survey, just assessing Title I parent involvement. Are you as parents included in a Title I policy or program changes? However you choose to evaluate the program really is at your discretion. As long as you follow those 5 steps, you'll be in good shape. And you want to hold on to all of it. You want to have a program evaluation binder, or if you're electronic, have it all scanned in one folder, one drive. But what's important is that we have actually taken the time to engage in the process of evaluating the program to ensure that it was worth the investment of the time and the finances needed to run the program. Any question on this before we briefly go into the CNA and the CIP, why it is all linked together, even though we've already kind of hit on it? I just want to give a couple of reminders. Okay, let's keep on going. The CNA and the CIP link, how does it all tie together? Well, we do know, of course, that Title I Part A funds must be expended for programs and activities and strategies that are scientifically based on research and then meet the needs identified through that CNA process. It, of course, must be tied to the LEA or the campus improvement plan, depending on how the expenditure will be used and coded. But it's all linked together. It is all one continuous process. So looking at the comprehensive needs assessment, the full booklet of this can be found on our website, region10.org/Title I. You will see the comprehensive needs assessment guide there. One of the questions that come up quite a bit with the CNA is, do I have to actually do this? And is it only because I'm using federal funding that I have to do this? Yes, we do have to do this. And no, it's not just specific to federal funding. Elementary and Secondary Education Act that was passed back in 1965 by President Johnson definitely has this in there, this requirement in there to conduct and engage in the CNA process. So does No Child Left Behind, so does Title I Part A, and then other NCLB programs. If you go through them, they do actually require that a CNA is conducted, which to me makes sense. How do you know whether or not this is a program that you need to engage in? How do you know whether or not this need is a genuine need that I'm assuming we have, or is based on data that actually shows this is a need that we have? And as I mentioned earlier, it is also required in the Texas Education Code that we engage in a CNA process. The purpose of actually having the CNA and conducting the CNA is to examine multiple sources of data to identify the priority needs and direction for the school. And it is also a guide to develop a comprehensive school-wide plan and suggest benchmarks for its evaluation and should be closely linked to all aspects of the school-wide program implementation. So again, that CNA, the CIP, even the program evaluation piece, they all work together. So briefly, if you want the full training on the CNA, I would also recommend that you come to one here at the ESC, here at Region 10. But quickly, CNA members include community. It includes our parents. It includes principals, pupil services personnel, school staff, students as applicable, but for sure at the secondary level, teachers, and technical assistance providers. The areas and the committees involved in the CNA, of which there are 8, include demographics, student achievement, school culture and climate, staff quality, recruitment and retention, curriculum instruction and assessment, family and community involvement, school contacts and organization, and lastly, technology. Really quickly, as an aside, I get asked, is it okay that I have the same group of people on all of these committees? Genuinely, you don't want to do that. And part of the reason why, in addition to burnout, you are not also allowing opportunities for diverse feedback, different perspectives. And honestly, there are some committees that some should serve on and maybe others should not. For example, the school culture and climate, one of my colleagues here, our counseling consultant, she would be perfect to be on a school culture and climate committee because that is part of who she is. She's a counselor. She wants to know, how do people feel? Whereas I would probably be better on the family and community and curriculum and instruction and assessment committee. So really, end of the day, you should not have the same 8 people, since you only have to, at a minimum, have these members that you see here on the left side of the screen, of which there are 8. You don't technically have to have those same 8 people in all of this, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you need 64 people because it's 8 brand new people for each one of the committees, just as an FYI. Next thing I have for you here with the comprehensive needs assessment, it's this same snapshot that I showed you earlier in different chunks. This is just the tool. I'll show you where you can access this on our website as well, but same thing. It has the area that was being addressed in this case with student achievement, data sources reviewed, strengths and needs for the findings, and then lastly, an overall summary of the needs as well. The CNA, and I have this graphic because as I mentioned earlier, I am visual. The CNA is central to everything that we do. So if you're looking at it, like if this was a scale or a continuum, that CNA is the first piece because it is central. It determines, based on the needs that we have, it guides what we're putting in our CIP, which is the plan to address the needs that we identify through engaging in the CNA process. That CNA guides what we're using our Title I funding for, our 2, our Title III, our Title IV, even our state allotments, because that CNA is the hallmark. It is the guiding force, the centerpiece, the bottom of the pyramid, the foundation as to what we use, what programs we engage in, and why we are doing them. Now, once we engage in the CNA process, that leads us into our campus improvement plan or your district improvement plan, which, as a side note, that campus improvement plan completely and totally drives your money. The campus improvement plan or your district improvement plan drives the funding. How and why you're using the funding, what pieces ties it all together. It's all based on, at the onset, the CNA. Based on the needs we find there, we develop that action plan, which is in that improvement plan, of course. And then from there, because of the needs, because of the strategies, we are then saying, this is the funding we're going to spend, this is the funding we're allocating to address these needs that we have now identified in that CIP. So last note, to tie it all together, the needs assessment determines the why. It addresses the gaps based on data that exists by conducting a root cause analysis. Your campus or district improvement plan is the action that will take place to address the needs identified in your CNA. So it all works together. At the completion of this, we are engaging in the program evaluation, which is, hey, we said this was the need, the CNA. We said this is what we're doing to address it, our CIP. And now through the program evaluation, I'm going back to see if what I said we were going to do, we actually did, one. And two, did it actually make an impact? Was it something that was worth spending that funding on and the time on? So, you know, to me, that's the simplest way I could tie it all together. The CNA is the foundation. It's the basis for your CIP. It's the resources, the budgetary allocations, your actions and strategies for improvement. Utilizing all of it together, it's how, especially in that CNA process, it's what informs the academic, student, family, staff, and community plans of action. And now evaluating the program on the end of it, which is what we're doing now, just allows us to show and to prove and to make recommendations as to whether or not the programs we invested the funding and the time in this year were worth it. Do we want to continue this, or should we look at other options? So before I go into a beginning of the closing where I'll show you how to access resources, do you have any questions for me? Okay, let's keep on going. The program evaluation series, when are the other sessions? I kind of hit on this already, so this is just a reminder to you all. There are 9. We had one yesterday, we have one today, we will be having one tomorrow. Then we'll have 3 next week, and then 3 the following week. If you would like to participate in any of these other ones, please feel free. Go into our calendar of events, register there, and then I'll also have you mark attendance the morning of, just like you did today, so that we can verify that you engaged in this program evaluation series with us. I want to show you a couple of resources. So the first of which is on our Title I Part A website. If you go on there, region10.org/Title I, this is what it looks like as soon as you log in. We would go to Title I Part A. And then once you click on that, you'll see a couple of different things. Going through this, and we'll go onto the website together in a moment, you'll see some parent involvement options, information about the compact, the policy, and the program evaluation series itself. On that site, I have another little graphic here, but halfway down the page, you'll see program evaluation, and that's where you can access the program evaluation booklet. And then that's also where you can get the tool, which gives you the spreadsheet. So this is just, again, what the actual sheet looks like. So before I go into the Google site, I do want to show you how what the program evaluation tool looks like on our site as well. So give me one moment. Oops, sorry, close out of my email here. If I go to our website, and let me share my desktop with you so that you can see what I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm going to region10.org/Title I. So as I just showed you on the PowerPoint, if you scroll down, right here on the far left is the consolidated application ESSA training that we just recently had. If you're interested, we do have a new state allotments cooperative that Becky is taking the lead on. If you have questions about any of these pieces or how to engage in the state allotments co-op, please feel free to contact Becky. She has all of the information on it. This is new for the 2017-2018 school year. Over here on the right-hand side of the screen, you see all of our upcoming events. Here's tomorrow's program evaluation series. As you can see, I pretty much have a monopoly on our screen. We are then going into the ESSA application training. That's for the consolidated application. This will be the 3rd time it's being offered. If you didn't have an opportunity to participate, feel free to do so. We have both Becky and I contact information here at the bottom. Going to the webinars, these are past webinars that we have conducted, the Federal Friday. Here's a few other webinars, and the program evaluation series. Once I record these, and I record these as I go along. It's approved by our technology department. They will start adding them here. We will have them here on the website. As of July 1, NCLB references will go away, but until then, we are still under No Child Left Behind. So you'll see a few pieces here, just information that can help. There is Title I Part A, which if you scroll down, there's that CNA, there's the improvement plan, here's the evaluation. So this first one is just the flyer of which you are already participating in this program. So that's where that can be found if you want to share it with others. Here is the NCLB Program Evaluation booklet. And this is the booklet that I've been referencing throughout. But if you want an electronic copy for yourself, it is here. Goes through the statutory requirements as well. And then lastly, this is the program evaluation tool. As I mentioned earlier, it is an Excel document. So when I open this up, I'm going to enable editing so I can type directly into it. What you'll see is the introduction page that goes over what this tool is for, how you'll be using it. And then across the bottom are the individual pieces for each program. So here's the budgeted amount. There's that completion date. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's the date that we actually completed the program evaluation. Here's the committee, name, position. Second page, this is the same information I covered with you already, but there's the date that each one of these items were looked at and delved into. So the identified needs, strategies, the expenditure, the impact, and then as a committee, the recommendations that we have for this, whether or not we want to continue this. And then down here at the bottom, again, there are the data sources. So all of these here are the federal program and even the state comp ed, compensatory education evaluation guidelines for you. If you want to use this as a template, by all means, you can. And it is editable. So I can go here and type whatever number I want to type, and I can type in, that's a heck of a lot of money, and it won't even let me do it. I can type in names, I can type in positions. This is an editable document. So let me come out of this. Let's go back to our website. I think that is all I wanted to show you from this page. Next, I do want to take you to the Google document that was created for you to be able to access other pieces. So give me one moment. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Let's get this back up and running because I want to show you the links that you can use. So let me make sure I am sharing the correct screen with you guys. Okay. So what we see here, you can access this from our Title I website, which we were just on, region10.org/Title I. You can also access some of this information from our parent involvement page, which is region10.org/parent involvement. And this Google site is where I'm going to take you next. So please jot this down. It's also accessible through the parent involvement site, and it is case sensitive. Sorry, but it's goo.gl/A as in Adam, lowercase c as in cat, lowercase b as in venue, capital J as in June, lowercase r as in red, lowercase c as in cat. We are going to that site now because I want to show you what's there. Let's see if it'll allow me to come out of it. Here we go. So let me switch screens one more time so you can see what I am looking at. Okay, so what we have here is the Title I Parent Involvement Planning Policy and Compact Google site. As I mentioned to you before, I developed this one about 1.5 years ago. I am going to be updating it with the 17-18 information. Probably give me another week or two because I have a couple of other things going on, but give me about another 2 weeks. Let's say by July 1, you'll have access to that. And it's just all of the PowerPoints that you can use for the 17-18 year for parent involvement, for the policy, for the compact, the annual meeting, it's all there. So what you see here initially, this was the September 6, 2016 webinar that I offered, which went over all of the information for the policy, planning of the actual parent involvement, policies, compact, and other information. What we have here is legislation at both the national and the state level. Here's the compact. I'll just click on a couple of quick things for you can see this. This is the compact checklist. So what I have is just a miniature version of all of these things, but once you click directly onto the picture, it takes you to the full pager. So this was the checklist I mentioned to you earlier, and this is just lets you know whether or not you are doing these things and you want to have yes in all of the major categories going down this. Does the school have a current year school parent compact? Yes, we want to say yes to this. Is the compact presented in a format and written in the language that families and parents can understand? Was the school parent compact developed jointly with parents and families? So these are all just things to make sure we want to be able to say yes to. That's the compact checklist. If I go back up to compact, I have a PowerPoint, developing a school parent compact. This was the actual law with the school parent compact, the PL 107-110. That booklet is here. If you click on it, it takes you to the entire booklet. 5 steps to success for developing school parent compacts. I have a PowerPoint for you right here as well. Again, completely editable. Here is the latest 5 steps to success for developing school parent compacts, the booklet itself. And it starts off with general information. Step 1, how do I motivate and designate? Step 2, how do I gather and align? 3, design and develop. 4, promote, engage, and implement. And then 5, celebrate, review, and revise. So this is the newest document that we have for that. Also under compact, if you already have one and you're saying, hey, we're about halfway through the school year and we really kind of need to re-energize or revive this thing, this PowerPoint is for you. This is for the 16-17 year. I am slowly receiving 17-18 information, and as I do, I will update it here on this website. If you click on it, again, if you click on the picture, it takes you to it. This is, you'll be accessing this through my Google Drive. Anything that has an orange P or that PPTX at the end means it is a PowerPoint. So you can download this and edit it and put your information in it. Because this is in Google, some of this, it slightly messes up the alignment for some of these pieces, but once you download it into PowerPoint, it's there just fine. But all of this is here for you. It breaks it down. You can use this with your families. You can use it with other educators if you like in the district, to use this as district trainings. It is here. You just download and train away. So that's here on the site as well. Here are a couple of school parent compact templates that are here for you. I have it here in both Microsoft Word and Publisher. Same drill, you click on a picture, it takes you directly to it. I also have a school parent compact samples. This school provides it in the trifold, and these aren't all necessarily, as you can see, out of Texas, but they're good examples and shows you what folks are doing in different states. This particular school has it broken. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to update their link. They took that down. This has it. Oh, because they're redoing all of them. So I guess that's a good reason for me to take their information off. This has it broken down, their particular campus, by grade level. So that is also an option for you as well. Here's another one that when I checked the other day is there. Thank you, because I downloaded this into my Google Drive. Here's another example of a school parent compact. This one was from their 15-16 school year. Very easy format, just gives you the information of what is required in a school parent compact. Very common example are a lot of campuses do the trifold, where the information is simple and easy to gather. Here is one from a middle school example. Here's one also from a high school example. These are grade level specific as well. So what is the school compact? How will we be doing this? These are all here, just samples if you want to see how some other places are doing them. This goes into the policy, the compliance calendar. One of the things I like about this one, I was on the initial committee that put this together. The 17-18 one I should have soon. And this is the compliance calendar for 16-17. So just as an example how this looks, what's highlighted is something that should be done. So completing home language survey should be done. Notifying parents of their right to request and receive information. Consulting with parents and families to develop or revise and agree upon the school parent compact. These are all things that should be taking place. Now, what's not highlighted means it's a good practice, but not necessarily required. These are just other things that are good. So for example, September 5th, NCLB Consolidated Federal Grant application was due, and this was for for the current school year that we are in right now. So these are things that are, applicable dates, but aren't necessarily required in order for me to conduct a full and rich parent involvement program. So that's the intent of this program calendar, and it goes all the way through the end of the year and actually takes me back all the way through July. And then the next one that I will be posting soon starts in August. So it's basically the entire year. That's the compliance calendar. Developing a written policy. Again, here are steps to it, what the law says, the policy checklist. I even have PowerPoints again for you here, basic elements of the parent involvement policy. How do I conduct the comprehensive needs assessment specific to parent involvement? Again, you can download this and edit it and use it with your families and communities and stakeholders. What I have here are some sample, here's the policy checklist, and then a couple of sample policies as well. I won't pull these down for you because I just wanted to show you how this works. The annual Title I meeting, these are required. So I have a couple of different versions of this here for you. The PowerPoint, and this is editable, and this first one has a target audience of families. I wanted to clarify that for you so that you know. This is specific to our parents. So why are we here? We're informing our parents of the school's participation in Title I. We're explaining the requirements. We're explaining your rights as parents to be involved. What will you learn? What does it mean to be a Title I school? All of this is here. You can, well, for sure, get rid of that first slide that you'll see here because this is just by the way, this is a sample for the Title I that must be the meeting, which must be held annually, but you can put your information in instead. This has these are annual Title I meeting reminders, and the target audience for this one, it's more so your parent liaisons or in-district personnel who will be assisting with the parent involvement practices on your district or in your campus, just as an FYI. This is myths about parent involvement. Down here, we have sample forms from agenda to data collection tools, to questionnaires, to surveys. I showed you this one earlier as a snapshot, but let me show it to you a little bit more. This one is a Title I parent involvement survey. So we want some yeses going down the majority of the side of this. Do you understand your responsibilities? Were you invited to attend the annual Title I meeting? This portion on the back just gives more update or more data gathering, as we said, with the program evaluation process, and gives us data. The Brain Smart Parent Workshop that was held apparently in September. Enjoy it, do it again. Did not enjoy it, do not do again. Or, you know what, kind of don't have an opinion because I wasn't able to attend. If you think back to the law, it asks what specific barriers there are. Here are some questions. What prevents you from attending parent involvement activities at the school? What can the school do to make it possible for you to attend? And then any additional comments. So this survey to me is more of a summative one. I've had some campuses ask me, should we wait and do this at the end of the year? Should we do it after each event? Totally at your discretion. If you want to get data sooner, then maybe you could do one at the end of each semester, maybe do a one for fall that covered everything in the fall, and maybe do another survey for the spring if you'd like, or you can do one annually and get that information at that time. Here are a couple of other surveys for you as well. A couple of other materials and resources, benefits of family involvement. If you are conducting a family evening and you want to start the year off with why it's important that we have families involved, you can use this PowerPoint for that. Here's also what we are calling an empowerment toolkit, how to build capacity, the requirements for that, as well as some myths about parental involvement. These cover events and opportunities that are coming up, contact to the Region 10 ESC, and then other contact information. So this is the Google site that I created, like I said, about 1.5 years ago. As I get new information, I update it here. I want you to feel free to use this, because this is definitely something that you have the option of using, and it is completely free to you to do so. Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint as we wrap our time up together. Region 16 has their website, esc16.net. You can access it through our Title I website on through Region 10. They have the statewide Title I initiative, which provides school support and family and community engagement practices. They also have a newsletter that's published quarterly. All of that is there for you as well, free resources. They have the statewide grant for making sure that we are properly disseminating all of the information that comes directly from the state. So if you want any additional resources, that is there for you as well. And I am going into last 1 to 2 slides. Do you have any questions whatsoever for me? Any feedback that you want to provide before I go into my final closing? I'm trying to give you appropriate wait time. Thank you very much. If you have any additional questions that you maybe just hadn't thought about yet or it hasn't come up yet, please feel free to contact us here at Region 10. Amber Lazane is our Assistant Director of Special Revenue Services. That is her email address as well as her Twitter information. Tony Garrett is the Program Coordinator for Title I. She is over the Title I Capacity Building Initiative. Let me say that. That is a state-funded grant. So she works alongside all of our districts and ESCs across the state for capacity building specifically. Becky Book, my colleague here, is a fellow consultant. She covers state allotments as well as ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, specifically our SSA. And then I see myself there right next to it, same thing, ESSA and SSA. And then Laura Griffin is our consultant that works specifically with our private nonprofit. Up there in the corner, you'll see our most recent and brand new hot off the presses this year, within the last a couple of months or so, actually, a list of all the special revenue services that we provide here in our team and in our department. And it also includes information about the SSAs and just additional services that we can provide to be of assistance to you. So if you need anything else, please contact us. Let us know. That's what we are here for. We are a service center. And as a reminder, if you did not register directly for this session, please make sure you do so. And that is the short link that's here on the side, the gg.gg Program Evaluation Series 2017, so PES 2017. And to just verify your attendance, we also are asking that you fill out the gg.gg, looks like Pepsi, but I promise it's not, Parent Evaluation Series, Parent Involvement. So PESPI. Unless you have anything else for me as I close out here, I want to thank you again for your time. Thank you again for being involved in this process with us. And if there's anything else that anyone here on our special revenue team can do to make sure that we are meeting your needs, please feel free to contact us and let us know. Have a very good day, guys. Bye-bye.